What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the channel to another WNBA video. We got ourselves a 5-game slate to dive into for Thursday, July 3rd. So we're going to break down and analyze each of those games. Going to talk about which way that I'm leaning as far as the points and the spread. And then when it's all said and done, make sure you check down there into the pinned comment. Find a link down there that's going to send you over to the Guy Boston Sports website. So we're going to find all of my final plays for these games listed for free. But before we dive into this game, let's go ahead and jump over there to the website. That way we can take a look back to Tuesday's plays, what we took, and how that ended up going down. And we can't even begin to lie, man. We've had better days, most definitely. 0-3, we get the reverse sweep on the Commissioner's Cup Finals. Oh, man, what a mess, right? Took the Fever and the Lynx, the total over 164.5. They don't come anywhere close to that. But the Lynx didn't even break 60 points in this one. Just a complete shocker. Nafisha Collier, over 22.5 points. She has one of the worst shooting displays that I think I've seen from her, man. And so many of those shots just rimming in and out, man. Just ridiculous. Aaliyah Boston, under 3.5 assists, which she had hit at a tremendous rate coming into this game. She has 4 at the half. So obviously we don't cash on that one. Like I said, 0-3 on the night. Man, flush it. Let's move on. I'm going to go ahead and keep that negative energy right there in that video on Tuesday, guys. Let's go ahead and jump into these games here. Man, it's time to get on track and get on a roll, guys. We got 5 games to go ahead and do that here today. Smash that like button down there for me, guys, if you can, and hit subscribe if you have not already. Let's get into the mix, man. Our very first game of the day got the Los Angeles Sparks taking on the New York Liberty. Now, line movement in this one and all the games, man. It opened up at 12.5. It's now sitting at 10.5. Total sitting at 169.5. We got a 7 p.m. tip-off time for this one. It's going to be the first meeting of the year between these two, with the Liberty home and beginning an 8-game homestand. They're going to be in New York for almost the entirety of July, guys. They sit at 11-5 straight up, 6-10 to the number, 4-3 at home, but have won 6 of those 7 home games outright. New York has struggled as of late, however, after starting the year on an absolute tear at 9-0 and looking far and away like the best team in the league. They have since gone just 2-5 with close call wins over the Valkyries and Dream. Games that they won by a combined total of just 8 points. But those 5 losses have come by an average margin of defeat of just over 11 points per game. So they definitely have had their struggles, but injuries have played into this for sure, man. Jonquel Jones is out for the next few weeks with an ankle injury that, she's missed the last 4, 6 of her last 8. She re-aggravated it when she did attempt to come back. But they're going to get a huge piece of their starting 5 back in Leonie Fibic for this one. She was away for Europlay. Now, New York is better defensively with her out there, guys, and she is key to helping them stretch the floor offensively with her outside shooting ability. Her return is going to be huge for this team. Just help them get back on track and should help them stay on track until Jones can get healthy. She's not the rim protector that Jones is, so I'm not saying that this is going to be that elite defense that we've come to expect from New York, but their numbers go up both offensively and defensively with Fibic out there, even without Jones on the floor as well. So, gotta like that here for New York. For the Sparks, they waived Odyssey Sims. They do have Julie Alleman back from Eurobasket play, and Ray Burrell looks to be ready to go in this one. She is not on the injury report. Cam Brink is the only one listed as out. These Sparks are sitting at 5-12 straight up. They are 6-11 against the spread. But interestingly enough, man, they have fared better on the road this year than at home. They are 1-7 straight up when in LA. They are 4-5 when away from home. The Sparks have lost 5 of their last 6 now. They sit at 12th for offensive rating in their last 5 games, 11th for defensive rating, and also 12th for overall net rating. They're giving up the second most points off of turnovers in that time, giving up the ball at the highest rate across the league as well. Now, the Liberty's numbers in their last 5 don't look the greatest themselves, right? But when you look at them over the course of the year, you see a much better representation of who this team really is. With Fibic back in the mix, I look for New York to start looking a lot closer to the Liberty, that we expect to see night in and night out. Now, New York on the year is forcing the 4th most turnovers. They're scoring the 3rd most points off of those turnovers. LA on the year is sitting at 3rd from points scored from the paint, but the Liberty give up the 5th fewest such points. They are holding opponents to the lowest shooting percentage from inside the restricted area across the entirety of the W. Now, like I said, obviously this takes a hit without Jones out there, but New York isn't just dead in the waters without her as far as rim protection goes. Like I said, you do got Fibic coming back, Stewie as well. They're both excellent defenders. They both have size. They both have length. They're not Jonquel Jones around the rim, sure, but like I said, it's not like the team is just dead in the waters down low. New York is making the second most three-pointers per game, the third most above the break threes, and they lead the W in fast break points scored as well. Sparks allow the third most threes per outing, the most above the break, and the fifth most points scored off of fast breaks. Despite the recent struggles, man, let's not begin to overlook and overthink this New York Liberty team, right? They do sit at second for offensive rating on the year, third for defensive, and they are still second overall for net rating. With all that said, man, I'm leaning New York, and I think this is a nice bounce back spot for them. But despite the struggles on the LA side as well, man, I'm hesitant to lay 12.5 points still. I'm definitely hesitant to pull the trigger there, especially without Jones in the mix. I do think the Sparks team is better than the record indicates. It's honestly just a matter of when or when's it all going to click for this team. So I think New York wins this one, and it's never really going to be in question if they do or not. They can still have a great game in this one, be in control the whole game, only win by 10 or 11, and then we don't cash, right? 12.5 points is a good bit to lay. I'm just not sure that I'm ready to do that. With the Liberty, with the struggles that they've had, no matter how much of a bounce back spot I think this is for them, without Jones out there, I'm not sure that I can get there, guys. Now, what I do like in this game more than the side is the total. And I do have a play in on this one. We have the two fastest teams in the W right here in this one. LA ranks, or two of the fastest teams, right? LA ranks at third in terms of pace, New York sitting at first. The Liberty lead the W in scoring as well. New York is 10-6 to the over this season. The Sparks are also 10-6 with one push in there as well. 6 of the last 7 have gone up and over for New York. 6 of LA's last 8 have as well. Now, head to head, we've seen 5 straight overs between these two. Guys, I like an over in this one. I caught it at 169.5. It started to move up and down. It is now back down to 169.5. I definitely like the over sitting there at that number. I wouldn't be surprised if this one gets into the lower 170s once we get close to the tip-off time. But yeah, like I said, I did catch that at 169.5. I put that up on the Guy Boston Sports website on Tuesday's plays down underneath there for anyone looking to catch those early looks. And like I said, man, if you want to get in on an over, I would sooner rather than later. I do anticipate this number going up. And next up, going to be looking at the Las Vegas Aces taking on the Indiana Fever. Now, this one opened up Aces -1.5. Then Caitlin Clark was ruled out. That is now up to 4.5 for the Aces. Total sitting at 161.5, and that's gone down. It opened up at 163.5. 7 p.m. tip-off time for this one. Now, after some pretty significant ups and downs at the beginning of the year, both these teams are beginning to find a groove, right? And they find themselves winners of 3 of their last 4 heading into this game here. All 3 of those Fever wins have come on the road, and the last 2 are coming without Clark in the picture as well, including beating to this point the league best Minnesota Lynx, right, in Minnesota for the Commissioner's Cup championship. Now, Vegas, they're coming in off a big win of their own over a Mercury team that came into that one red hot on a 6-game winning streak. They also bring a 2-day rest advantage into this one over Indiana. You always have to be concerned with a letdown after winning the cup, man. Call it the Commissioner's Cup championship hangover because that's what it is, right? You look at the Commissioner's Cup started in 2021, so we got 4 cases to study, right? 3 of those 4 teams have gone on to lose their next game. The Seattle won in 2021. They lost to a 500 Chicago Sky team. The Aces, they won the Commissioner's Cup in 2022. They did go on to win their next game after that finals. They dominated a 5-25 Indiana Fever team. The Liberty in 2023 won the finals. They lost their next game by 13, and then Minnesota last year lost by 6 after winning the Commissioner's Cup finals to a 3-13 Dallas Wing spot. So, history shows us that this is a letdown spot for that team that does end up winning that Commissioner's Cup's finals. And then on top of that, this was a huge win for Indiana. You know what I mean? They faced a ton of adversity this season so far between the multiple injuries to Clark, the constant media coverage that half the time isn't even basketball related, the Dewana Bonner saga. You know what I mean? Like, come into Minnesota and beat this Lynx team convincingly down their best player. It's very impressive, but also makes me feel like a letdown is inevitable, right? As soon as the Fever won that finals, I was rushing over to get on an Aces money line. And I'm glad I did. I caught it at -125. This was, like I said, when Clark was still a game time decision. I also put that down there in the plays on the Guy Boston Sports website underneath the Tuesday's plays down there at the bottom, the early looks for the next day's slate. Hopefully you guys caught that as well. Obviously it's definitely moving in the Aces' favor with Caitlin Clark being ruled out. But there's other factors to it as well, in my opinion, you know what I mean? You gotta consider the fact that the Aces are starting to figure things out as well, like we mentioned earlier, man, and they have made a very underrated move, in my opinion, in trading for an Alyssa Smith, the former Indiana Fever forward herself. She spent the start of this year in Dallas. Now, man, Asia has needed help down low, and Smith is a great complement style-wise. She's a hard worker. She's a gritty type that will do all the little things and help relieve some of that pressure that Asia has felt the past couple seasons down there in the paint. I've been saying it, man. They got to get her some help down there. She's the only big they got that's actually doing anything. You know what I mean? And I think Melissa Smith is going to be that for her. The Aces have completely dominated this head-to-head matchup over the years as well, man. Vegas is 39-19 all time against the Fever, and including their 89-81 victory in late June just this season, they have now won 16 in a row over the Fever. 16. With that in mind, the rest advantage, the Fever coming in, with that cup hangover, man, I'm on the Aces, like I said, and took them on the money line. Got that at -125. I still like the Aces. It is getting up there, that -4.5, but I would say I would lay the points with the Aces before I would be looking to catch any points with the Fever in this one. For the total, this does feel like a flat spot offensively for like we've discussed already. Definitely think that they suffer a slow start here. And we've seen them hit to the under in 10 of their 17 played this year. The Aces have hit to the under in 5 of their last 7 games and are sitting at 5th for defensive rating in their last 5. So give me an under here, possibly even a Fever team total under. Like I said, the market does agree with that as well. That line is dropping. I wish I would have caught it at 163.5, but I was hesitant to throw 2 plays, one on the side and one on the total in right off the rip. And I like the side better. I do like the Aces side better, but definitely like the under in this one as well. I don't think you can go wrong with either one there. Next up, going to be looking at the Seattle Storm taking on the Atlanta Dream. Now, the Dream opened up 1 point favorites in this one. That has since shifted to the Seattle side. Storm are 1.5 point favorites in this one. The total sitting at 160.5. That is down from what it opened up at 162. We have a 7:30 p.m. tip-off time for this one. It's going to be the second match between these two on the season. The Dream won that first one in Seattle, 94-87. Atlanta comes into this one 11-6 straight up, 10-7 against the spread. They are winners of 3 of their last 5, but they have covered in only 1 of those 5. Now, the Storm, they have lost 2 of 3 after rattling off 6 wins in 7 tries. They sit at 10-7 on the year, 9-8 to the number, and they have failed to cover in 3 straight now themselves. And Seattle, man, they've just been a hard team to read. They'll go on runs where they look like one of the top teams in the W, one that can make a run and contend down the road. In the last few weeks alone, we've seen them beat both the Liberty and the Lynx by 10 points each. But then they'll turn around and have performances like their last outing where they get completely smoked. You know what I mean? Losing by the Valkyries by 27 and just pointing up only 57 points in that one. Offensively, they've been pretty inconsistent as well. At times they look like one of the top scoring units in the W. And they led the league in shooting percentage from both the field and 3-point range for good periods of time throughout the season. But in their last 5, they have dropped to just ninth for offensive rating. And Atlanta, man, similarly has seen a dip lately as well, sitting at 3rd for offensive rating, 5th defensively on the year. But in their last 5, they sit more middle of the pack at 7th and 8th, respectively. Atlanta is hitting the 2nd most shots from inside the restricted area on the year. And in their last 5, they do sit at 2nd for points scored from the paint as well. Storm are allowing the 5th most field goals and at the 5th highest shooting percentage from inside the restricted area in their last 5. And they're giving up the 2nd most points from inside the paint on the year as well. Seattle give up the 3rd fewest 3-point field goals from above the break, but they are allowing the 5th highest shooting percentage from deep overall across the W. The Dream are 1st for above the break threes made and sit at 2nd for 3-point shooting percentage. Dream have a big advantage on the glass as well, man, pulling in the 2nd most rebounds per game, while the Storm sit at 2nd to last in that regard. The Dream pull in the 4th most offensive rebounds as well. Seattle sits dead last in that respect, man. Atlanta is converting those offensive rebounds into the 3rd most second chance points. Seattle is 2nd from last here as well. The Dream have gone 7-2 at home. The Storm just 4-4 on the road. And I get this being, the potential for a letdown spot, right? For the Dream after a big win over New York in their last one, and I get it being a bounce back spot for Seattle after a huge defeat at the hands of Golden State. It's a revenge game for Seattle as well, losing to Atlanta at home the first time around. But man, the Dream are simply playing better basketball. They have more depth, and I like them at home over a team that they just beat convincingly on the road a couple weeks back. I'd like to lean the dream here, man. My biggest concern for this one, and why I haven't bet it yet, is the uncertainty on Ryan Howard and if she'll be able to play in this one. She did leave Sunday's win over the Liberty with an upper body injury. She didn't return, and she is listed as day to day. So, like I said, I'd still be leaning the Dreams' way. Honestly, with or without her. But if I get to pulling the trigger on this one or not, really does hinge on her status. Looking at the total, both of these offenses have seen some struggles lately, as we discussed, but it's been more of an efficiency thing as both are still putting up the points end of the day, man. You take that 57-point debacle away from their last game, and the Storm had been averaging 92 points per game in the 5 games prior. Same for the Dream. Looking at their last 5 games, you take out that 55-point letdown to the Wings, they were averaging just under 92 points per game in their other 4. Now, Atlanta and Seattle both have hit to the over in 5 of their last 6 heading into this one. As with the spread, though, man, I wouldn't want to play anything here, as far as the total is concerned, or the spread without knowing Ryan's status. But I'd be leaning over for this one. In our next game, looking at the Washington Mystics taking on the Minnesota Lynx. We have the Lynx coming in 12.5 point favorites, total sitting at 156.5. That thing is going down, guys. Opened up at 159.5. 8 p.m. tip-off time for this one. This one's interesting, because initially I started looking at this one prior to that Commissioner's Cup game, and I looked at it with the assumption that Minnesota would win, right? And be coming into this one with a rest disadvantage and that Cup championship hangover that we discussed earlier. Well, they come in with that rest disadvantage, sure, a day's rest disadvantage to be exact, but they also come in off of a upset defeat to the Fever, who were down Caitlin Clark on their home court in a game that they never really had an ounce of control in. Honestly, it was an embarrassing loss, for this Minnesota Lynx team that saw them put up only 59 points on 35% shooting, 25% from deep, along with many instances of uncharacteristic turnovers. Fee couldn't buy a bucket in that one, man. Like I said, talking about, we took her on her points, 6 of 18. Man, and like I said, going in that recap, how many of those shots were halfway down before rimming out? I swear, every single one was. Ah. Tough break for the current MVP favorite, man. The Lynx do still sit at 14-2 straight up. Luckily for them, that Cup Finals loss does not count towards their overall standings. They are 9-8 against the spread, but they did cover in 5 of the 6 prior to that Cup Finals loss. Washington sits at an 8-9 straight up. They are 10-7 to the number, and despite a loss to the Wings their last time out, the Mystics have won 4 of their last 6. And we're seeing in real time, man, the growth of the league's youngest team, in my opinion. In particular, rookie Sonia Citron, man, who, guys, is quickly finding herself up there with, Kalia Copper as one of my favorites in the WNBA. Her game, man, is so smooth. She's so efficient offensively. She's so sound defensively. Her IQ is off the charts, man. But as much as I love this year's Mystics team, and as much as I'll be rooting for them to get the dub here, I don't want any part of getting in front of the Lynx after that loss, man. Like I said, 11.5 felt crazy initially. That's what it opened up at, right? Looking at this game with the assumption that they'd be coming in off of a win, but off of a loss. With Cheryl Reeve at the helm, yeah, that 12.5 might not even be enough, man. You know what I mean? I'll lean Minnesota here, but and with that said, and with everything said, this one is probably just going to stay a lean because these links definitely have a tendency to play around, right? And just as much as I want to believe that they're going to come out guns a blazing in this one, this may be another situation that they just turn up late and they get the dub. And it just becomes one of those, the Lynx played a great game. They won by 8, 9 points, but we just don't cover. Same thing with the Liberty earlier when we were speaking about them. So Minnesota lean, just not sure that I pulled the trigger here on this one. As far as the total, man, money was coming in on the over initially, but we've seen so much come in on the under that it's been pushed down to 156.5 where it sits now. Both these teams have hit to the under in 10 of their 17 games played this season. We've seen the Mystics hit under this specific number at a 56% rate this season when they are away, while the Lynx have hit under this number at home also at a 56% rate. Washington, man, they have really struggled against the top tier teams this year, and I don't see that changing here, especially going up against the Lynx team fresh off of a Cups finals loss, man. I'm going to lean under for this one. Then our next game, our last game on the slate, looking at the Phoenix Mercury taking on the Dallas Wings. Now, this one has seen some crazy line movement as far as the spread. Mercury opened up, I think it was down at 5.5, right? It is now up to 10.5. And there's some reasons for that. A lot of injuries on the Dallas side, and we'll discuss that here in a second. Total sitting at 165.5 for this one, down from the 167.5 it opened at. 8 p.m. tip-off time for this one as well. Wings are going to bring a one-day rest advantage into this one over the Mercury. Might be where the advantage is in for Dallas, though, in this one, man. The injury report is probably the best place to start for this one. Like I said, man, the Wings come in with a mile-long list. Maddie Seagrass, she is progressing along. She was seen getting shots up at practice, but she's still out for the foreseeable future. We already know that Ty Harris is out for the year. Now we have Arike Agumbawale also out for this one with a thumb injury. Dejanay Carrington has missed practice again. She's missed the last 4 straight for Dallas. Misha Hines Allen is listed as questionable with an ankle injury that she suffered in Tuesday's practice. So the Wings did get McCowan and Gosselsotter back from Europlay, but that's a lot of uncertainty within the rotation with a Mercury team coming into town fresh off of a loss. Like I said, Phoenix is coming in. They're looking for a bounce back dub here after dropping a close 3-point game to the Aces their last time out. They had won 6 straight going into that game. The Mercury are sitting at 12-5 straight up and 10-7 against the spread. The Wings just 5-13 straight up, 8-10 to the number. Now we've seen one head-to-head between these two in early June. That was a 13-point victory for Phoenix. With the injuries and the question marks, man, on the Dallas side, I'm not sure how I could even get there with them, even catching 10 points, right? The Mercury are sitting at second overall in the W right now as far as the standings are concerned. They are top 5 for offense, defense, and overall net rating. They're scoring the 4th most points off of turnovers. Dallas is allowing the 3rd most such points. Man, give me the Mercury here. This one feels easy. Looking at the total, these two, they've crushed the over in the first head-to-head match this year, and they've hit to the over in 5 straight head-to-head meetings. The Wings are playing at the 5th slowest pace this season. The Mercury are playing to the 2nd fastest pace. Dallas has hit the over in 3 of their last 5. Phoenix has in 4 of their last 5. So I'm going to lean over, but this is a spot that I'd probably look at the Mercury team total over, before I look at the game. I'm just not sure about Dallas in this one, man. Like I said, with all the uncertainty in that rotation, who's going to be out there, who's not going to be out there. I'm not sure about them. I'm not sure that they can, contribute enough points here for us to see a full game over, but I definitely like Phoenix getting a lot of points up in this one. That is going to wrap us up, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video today. Hope you found the content helpful and useful. And if you did, please do not forget to smash that like button down there on your way out and hit subscribe if you have not already. That's going to do it, man. Hope you guys all have a great night. Hope you guys all cash out. I'll see you back tomorrow for the next one.